Stacy, I hope this is going to work for you. We're going to I'm going to do a quick introduction and pass it
Okay,
to Adam. Adam's going to introduce you, and then you're going to go ahead from there. All
sounds
right.
good. Yeah.
Okay, everyone, welcome back to Concordia University's fourth space for the next installment of the Expanded Practices Residency, we'll call it for today. To help situate you again, though, we are streaming to the YouTube. We are live from fourth space, and we are located on unceded Indigenous lands in Tiohtià:ke, Montreal. We're running today's event as a live stream Zoom meeting. Hopefully you've been joining us earlier today. Welcome back. We definitely welcome comments and questions in the chat. It's essential and helpful. So please, if you're joining us that way, add your comments into the chat and we'll get them to whomever they're destined to. And for those of you in the space, if you'd like to participate, we'd like to get a microphone to you. So just raise your hand and we'll do that. But with that, it's my pleasure to pass things over to filmmaker and video artist Adam Mbowe to start this off. Adam, welcome in.
Hello, hello. Thank you for the introduction. It is true. My name is Adam. There has been a slight change in the schedule, so we will start with a presentation by Stacy L. Stingle. Stacy L. Stingle is a doctoral candidate in comparative literature at Louisiana State University. After that, there will be a Q&A period of around 5 to 10 minutes, so please stay tuned, and then our scheduled workshop on play. Stacy, feel free to take it over.
All right, thank you. My presentation is called Why Write? Composing Visual Narratives in the Fine Arts Classroom. And so as I begin, I start out by asking, what should composition look like in the fine arts classroom? In what kinds of context may we envision that writing should exist alongside other forms of creative communication? In Ways of Seeing, John Berger tells us that seeing comes before words. The child looks and recognizes before it can speak. Through sight, we distinguish the eye from the not eye. And here we situate the subject from the ground. We determine otherness and similarity. In the fine arts classroom, we become creative, comparative, social, and reflective thinkers. Berger continues, but there is also another sense in which seeing comes before words. It is seeing which establishes our place in the surrounding world. We explain the world with words, but words can never undo the fact that we are surrounded by it. We come to know this form through challenge and experimentation. It was the ancient Greek tragedian playwright Aeschylus, who in Prometheus Bound has his protagonist challenge the gods as he takes from them the form and medium of fire, the earliest element that provided for man's sight amidst the dark night. To have fire was to have a medium for seeing. Prometheus steals fire from the gods and gives it to man, and with it he gives man letters and the ability to use fire to shape form. As such, we are not unlike Prometheus when we combine the use of mediums of written text beside the visual form. So what does it mean to be in the world, to occupy a space, to comprise an order? To be in the world is to create meaning through preserving the I. That is, through the subjective orienting of establishing a relationship between self and the world. We establish this relationship through language, through an intuitive interplay of intertwining sign with symbol. Together, properly fused, we look out into the world and we find reflected back meaning and orientation that together as presence brings beauty through this unity. So I'm going to look here at the text of Prometheus Bound. Prometheus is an important figure in the art world. The story of Prometheus Bound has been examined in visual and sculptural arts. For instance, in 1612, Peter Paul Rubens, a Flemish Baroque artist from Belgium, created an oil painting, Prometheus, that was inspired by the Greek play. In 1934, a gilded cast bronze sculpture by Paul Manship titled Prometheus was situated above the lower plaza at Rockefeller Center in Manhattan, New York City. So these are just two pieces of work painting and sculpture, but there are many more. The story of Prometheus has captivated writers and artists for centuries. And so it is an important intersection between the visual arts and the language that we use to talk about what we see and how what we see shapes our representation of the world. So here I'll introduce Prometheus Bound, Aeschylus' short play. It was written in 480 BC. Here the fallen Prometheus is punished by the gods because he gave fire to man. He explains the state of man before he had the use of language to ground his reality. Here the fate of humankind was, and this is the quote, but like shapes in a dream, dragging out their long lives bewildered. By giving letters to man, he gave them language, sign and symbol intertwined to begin recording a history of being in the world. I made them masters of their own thought, Prometheus explains. So for once we begin to conceptualize the what, we can then turn to the that or the why. Before we turn to the quest of the why, that is whether being has a reason, it's necessary to trace a bit of the discovery and the meaning of the what. So for Prometheus, a god himself, and for whom existence is infinity, as he can never die, the question of time and of being is a question of the what. What does it mean to be in the world? How does art allow us to ask these questions and attempt to answer them? What may be done to make existence meaningful when it is destined to go on forever? For Prometheus himself, a god, being is eternal. For man, whom Prometheus assists, being is finite. The tension, therefore, in Prometheus Bound, which I think artists and writers have attempted to examine, is fixated upon overcoming this problem of time, because time here is a barrier that must be overcome to confront stagnation. Prometheus here tries to challenge time by acquiring power in granting man, through the gifts of fire and writing, with unnatural mastery of the material world, so that man here may rival the gods by positing his own sense of permanence in what, through time, gives the human condition its transitory form and makes the question of the why necessary. In Prometheus Bound, tension emerges with regard to this question about what should constitute human life. Tension can be seen in the resounding loss of the center through which to guide human behavior in the important question, how should we live? This center for man is Prometheus' world of the gods, who has imbued man with all the qualities that he is to possess, granting a nature that is transitory in its mortal form. In Prometheus Bound, here we encounter a prime example of the tension witnessed in confrontation between the creator and the created. We see succession, progression, and subversion in Prometheus, who determines that the creator Zeus must be disobeyed and even overthrown, so that his creation, man, may emerge as an equal to the gods. The act of writing is about world building. It's about story and about telling stories and situating people and places and experiences into some kind of order. Through writing, we acknowledge question, we confront hierarchies, injustices, and imbalances of power. Prometheus sees this as progress, that man should become an equal with the gods, where originally man was in all ways inferior to the gods and at their mercy. Prometheus's act of giving fire to man and all of the civilized tools of writing and art illustrate how we are divided by a struggle between what is and what ought to be. As such, Prometheus shows us that through writing and through art, we demand social justice. Our actions circle around attempts to navigate and overcome this tension. In our attempts, we often find ourselves faced with choices that require sacrifice and a willingness to comprise a central aspect of our beings, which we hope is an exchange of equal merit. In other words, we hope that the ends will justify the means. Without this tension can be observed a pattern of succession, progression, subversion, which may be defined as instances where we encounter a conflict, we think we are progressing in a manner that will overcome the initial struggle, only to find our efforts subverted and our tensions increase. Instinctually, as human beings, we are wired with a perceptual drive to overcome this tension, a tension that we sublimate in ways in place of the grand underlying fear, which is the original tension in our confrontation with death. So here the play Prometheus Bound contains little action because the god Prometheus is chained and immobile throughout. He has lost his ability for movement through being challenged by Zeus as the center of all order. The entity's power and violence chain Prometheus to a boulder for all eternity because as a god, he cannot die. This is his punishment for betraying Zeus and giving fire to man, giving language to man. Zeus has planned to destroy humanity, but Prometheus's gift enables man to forge his way in an environment that was previously uninhabitable. Prometheus explains his crime by saying, "For the power, the glory that I gave to human beings, I'm bound in irons. I tracked down fire where it springs from, and I stole it. I hid the spark in a fennel stalk and brought it to human beings. Now it shines forth, a teacher showing all mankind the way to all the arts that there are. This is my crime, and that's why I'm hammered in chains under the open sky. Through the use of this gift, mankind will now be less dependent on the gods to survive. Through Prometheus, the tragic hero, man has become empowered to express himself through art and through language." The first word in Prometheus Bound is power, and here power as an entity speaks first and directs the discourse. We know that Prometheus's task is one that subverts power in the belief that it will lead to progress. Power urges Hephaestus to clamp this troublemaking bastard to the rock, but he is reluctant and expresses regret at the task. Power urges him onward, explaining, "After all, Hephaestus, it was your glowing flower fire, the power behind all works of hands. He stole it and gave way to human beings." Power continues by saying, "Every job is a pain except for the god at the top. Only Zeus is free." So we find power is freedom in Prometheus Bound, as when one has power, he is free to do as he pleases. The chorus will say to Prometheus, "New masters sail Olympus. Look now, Zeus. His rules are new and they're raw. His rules are beyond the law." So we have to question here, are we Prometheus or are we Zeus? What is our inherent condition? To rule or to facilitate creation? Do we give democracy to man? Zeus represents the idea that might makes right, whereas Prometheus represents democracy through his gift of fire and the arts and language to man. In this act, Prometheus attempts to place man on a level playing field with the gods. This is a betrayal to Zeus. Prometheus describes the state of man before he gives them fire. And he says, "Hear what wretched lives people used to lead, how babyish they were until I gave them intelligence. I made them masters of their own thought. Man and woman looking saw nothing. They listened and did not hear, but like shapes in a dream, dragging out their long lives bewildered." What Prometheus has done in giving fire to man and in teaching man to use language and writing is he has given man the power to change form, to concretize it as an absolute that is defiant of time, death, and the nothing. Because the creation of form represents something over nothing. It suggests an attempt at permanence. Here we might consider the relationship between art and immortality. For whom do we create and why? By teaching man letters and writing, Prometheus gives man the ability to interpret and communicate signs. Through these forms, he gives them access to intuitive truths about the world and their very being. He gives them the ability to create form out of the shapes that are, in a dream, dragging out their long lives bewildered. Through the development of writing, man has means to put memory into physical form. Prometheus explains, "What's more, for them I invented number, wisdom above all other, and the painstaking putting together of letters, to be their memory of everything, to be their muse's mother, their handmaiden." The establishment of memory further forms identity as we become who we remember that we are. When Prometheus gives man access to sign shapes as numbers and letters, he is giving man a way to sustain identity through piecing together form, which takes its shape through memory. Memory allows for the development of the I. In such a way, memory, as established through the linking and use of signs, forms the core of who one is. Prometheus has essentially given man access to developing an eternal, unchanging I, an I that at its core has a center that does not change, even if some of its parts continue to change. Once this I has been posited and memory established, a human being has form to give to time and to give time a way of being recorded, to make eternal and define that which is eternal, if anything is. Man now has access to a core that is. And so the act of creation here is an inherent form that will make and establish meaning through positing self in the world. Aeschylus Prometheus determines that to be is to exist within thought, and thought must be conceptualized through an access to language. Through language, he decided we could begin to make meaning with our existence. We could use language to determine who and what we are. Where language falls short, we find that it does not give us the why. We ask, what is existence? What does it mean to be? Why is reason unable to fulfill our human drive to know ourselves? So in looking at Prometheus Bound, we ask, why create? Here we must continue by asking, why write? Why do we write? What do these demarcations across the page signify? What is their visual significance? Why do we unite words with images? We write to uncover these representations. We write to get at what is behind the scene, to immerse ourselves in their essence, that through the visual form, we try to reach, to uncover, and to experience. In Jean-Paul Sartre's essay, Why Write, taken from his larger work, What is Literature, Sartre makes the argument that we write for two purposes. We write to fight and we write to flee. To write is a moral choice, and to write is to assert being and agency into the world. Sartre calls these dual roles art as flight and art as a means of conquering. He asks, why does one have to manage one's escapes and conquests by writing? One attempts to manage one's escapes and conquests by writing in an attempt to concretize form, to ground meaning in a quest for the permanence that we believe to be concealed within the essence of the subject. Sartre continues, man is the means by which things are manifested. Here he is saying that human reality brings being into a world. And we should ask, how does this choice to write create consciousness through the event of being? How does writing multiply our essentiality in the world? As a philosophy that examines the phenomenology of being in a world, existentialism, Sartre's philosophy, emphasizes personal responsibility in a world that is open to choices. These choices define who we are at any individual moment. As Sartre explains, man is the means by which things are manifested. So man is a creator, and he is thereby responsible for what he brings into the world.
Sorry to interrupt, Stacey.
I'm sorry?
Sorry to interrupt, Stacey. We just have around like 1 more minute.
Okay, I will conclude that. So through the exchange of writing, through the exchange of language, the act of writing encourages a dialectic in art between the reader and the writer. Sartre sees this dialectic as a collaborative process, one that is motivated individually by flight or by conquest. He says there is no art except for and by others. So to read is an active process that requires engagement between the reader and the literary object. To write is to make an appeal to the reader that he lead into objective existence the revelations which I have undertaken with language. So why do we write? Why do we create? We write and we create to resist. In my writing course, Liberty and Consciousness in the Modern World, I ask students to examine writing with the visual arts as an active engagement with the world. We look at art that was produced during times of war and other social and political unrest through this philosophy of existentialism, looking at Jean-Paul Sartre's historical moment of writing during Nazi-occupied Paris during World War II. And we ask, what is freedom and how does living in a social environment provide, guarantee, limit, and define our understanding of ourselves in the world? What does it mean to be a witness? What is the role of personal responsibility when confronted by evil and injustice? Here we consider the role of writing as a rhetorical and a political act. And we ask, why is it important to remember? How does writing, when paired with other visual mediums, allow us to understand and experience our world? In the fine arts classroom, it is important to engage students with how the practice of writing may enhance the depiction of the materiality of their world. And that is what I have for you today.
Lovely. Thank you. Thank you.
Mhm.
So do we have one question from the audience? And is there anything in the chat, just to double check?
If there's anyone in the space who would like to ask a question, you can just raise your hand.
Thank you so much, Stacy. This was a really interesting talk.
Thank you.
I was wondering, so you talk about, I think one of the most relevant things that I pulled out, like in terms of our students in teaching composition, is why write in a space of political unrest? So there's a lot of political unrest in the world. Do you try to get students to write into that? Or is it more that you're telling students writing is still worthy despite this? Or that writing can in fact also be used as a tool perhaps to address political unrest, to address like why are we here and what can we do within these political circumstances?
I would say all three. I encourage students to find their voices, their individual unique voice, and how it can respond to their social and political world around them.
Great, thank you so much. I think that's so important for students to think about the fact that writing can be such an important tool to respond to the political unrest that they see around them and a way of connecting as well. So I'll pass it back to Adam and thank you so much.
Thank you, Stacy. So I would like to move on to our workshops on play, engaging with compositional strategies. Unfortunately, due to unforeseen circumstances, Amira Hanafi is unable to join us. So I would love to introduce Yuki Tam. Yuki Tam is a multidisciplinary artist and educator of Chinese descent living in the land known as Canada. They are pursuing their Masters of Fine Arts at Concordia University with a concentration in print media and received their Bachelors of Fine Arts from York University. Welcome, Yuki.
Hello. Did that work? Is it working? Yeah. Awesome. Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining me today for our little workshop. We're figuring, I have a little presentation set up for everyone to see, but we're just getting that running. But I can sort of introduce what we might be doing today. So I think I titled it Epistolary Episodes, but it was 2 a.m. So I'm not really sure that that's what I titled it. Yeah, that's what I titled. Very good. But I do know the content well, which is the important part. So my workshop is going to be about letter writing. And, oh, there it goes. Very nice. Thank you very much. Right here. Thank you. Awesome. Alrighty, now I have everything set. Amazing. Thank you so much, everyone. Okay. So my workshop here is going to be about letter writing, and here's today's agenda. All right, so I have 3 parts. Part 1 is I'm going to convince you as in the people here and the people in the online universe, that the practice of letter writing makes us better at analyzing art. Maybe you believe that already, maybe you don't. I don't know, but I'm going to try and convince you. And then we're going to write a letter to see if that's true for you. And then I'm going to ask you what you think. Does that sound good? All right. That sounds awesome. I see some thumbs up, which I love. All right. So I have to convince you. So first things first, I have to tell you the story of why I think so. So last term, Dr. Oppenheimer, or to her students, beloved Maya, she asked us to write a letter to anyone we want. The catch was that this letter had to be about these 2 specific artworks that she sent us out into the world to see. And I wrote like about the works, but I think I'm gonna skip over that part. You guys can look at the works and analyze them for yourself. So the work here is on that billboard. And it features a photo that the artist found in 2006 on the ground, not far from where it's presented now. And by the same artist, the text plaque you see in front of the Bon Secours Market, and it's actually a piece that responds to a work of the same name by artist Alfredo Jarre in 1999. So my Professor Maya sent us out into the world to analyze these 2 works. So I'm gonna read you what I wrote and what changed my mind about analyzing art. So let's see, I wrote this. I wrote, "Dear Daddy," which is what I call my dad. "My professor wants me to write a letter, and there's no one I really want to talk to right now but you. It's due tomorrow. And while I appreciate her thought experiment, I'm tired, sad, overwhelmed, and I really wish I didn't care so much. But I do. And this whole course is about caring, and the professor cares, and so I think I have to care too. I went with my friend, my new friend, Abby Hodson, to see these two works by Abbas Akabad. Don't even bother pronouncing it, it's fine. I know the B's and the V's are very hard, and the works were cool, I guess. So we went to see Omar Jamal Albert, Winter 1982, first. How come there aren't any photos of you like that in the 80s? Did you lose them? Do you think mom has tucked them away in a box? Or do you think they flew away too? I think we're going to talk about how the diasporic, racialized, perhaps migrant body is coming into voice within this work. We might even talk about how the piece extends the idea of the artist's agency and power. You see, because Akhavan used the image without consent. He found it on the sidewalk or something. I'm not sure how I feel about all that, but what is loudest in this piece is joy. How nice of everyone involved, the artists, subjects, curators, to give joy a voice. I wish I could find that voice for us. I wish we could be this happy. The second work was at Bon Secours Market, a pioneering building of some sort of rich colonial history, which has turned into another some sort of depressing tourist trap. It's fascinating how artists respond to one another. You would have probably said something about how the work could have just been an email. I would have probably defended its site specificity, how it uses wealth inequality, tourism in the old port against itself. Then you would say, it blocks out the architecture. Why don't they think about the architecture or the stonemason? And I'd say the building is colonial anyways, and you'd say colonial and beautiful can be true at once. And I would say there are more pressing issues than what the stonemason thinks, and you'd say the stonemason is an artist too. And then I would shake my head no and secretly think you're right. I think you would have liked coming with us. The weather was nice. The art wouldn't have been so great if it was raining. I also think you would have liked the walk to, in between, and away from the works more than the works themselves. You would have thought that contemporary public artworks like the ones by Akhavan's aren't effective, since they are sort of hidden in plain sight. You would say it fails because we're the only goddamn people looking at it. And you would comment about how we, the viewers, are all so silly. You would say that we look like chenggang, long-necked deer or giraffes, viewing these artworks as if staring at them will change something about our social, political, and economic situation. And I would probably argue with you and tell you that it facilitates our conversations and that the bystanders, the people walking by, even us, we become part of the work. I would also tell you to stop being such a cynic all the time, it's bad for your health. And then you would talk about the limitations of aesthetics and importance of action and activism. And you would get shy in front of Abby because you don't think you're smart. And everyone would be staring at us because we speak Chinese too loudly. I miss you, and I wish you could read this letter. Love, Guilo, your biased daughter. Whew, all right. That was my letter I submitted to Maya. And it really changed the way I thought about how I write about art and how I view art. And I think I gave a list, because I thought, could use some structure here. There's 3 reasons I think this letter works. And I know it's like, I'm trying not to toot my own horn, but I think it's a good letter, okay? I think it works. And so here are the 3 things. First, I think it foregrounds positionality. 2, it asserts art as a social practice. And 3, it allows me to analyze the art and myself with intersectionality at an intersection, multiple intersections. So positionality. Scholarly production, artistic or otherwise, is structured by an unacknowledged logic of identity. This is what Miyamoto and Ruiz says in Reflections of Positionality in Art and Migration, published in 2021. I think this letter writing foregrounds positionality through its request of honesty. Honesty about where you are, physically, mentally, and emotionally. It's about disclosing your position to your reader, being transparent about your location in relation to various social identities. In reading or rereading a letter, One can ensure that they are taking into account their own prejudices and biases. Identity is significant in knowledge production, whether we like it or not. But also positionality is just about where you are seeing the sky through. During the pandemic, I took this workshop with Fan Wu and Daphne Zhu, and it was an introduction to epistolary writing and epistolary filmmaking. And what struck me was that letter writing was so sensitive, intimate, and genuine. And I thought, why can't we bring this into art analysis? And I'm not saying it's never been done, of course, but I'm saying I wanted to see it more. Because every time I analyze art, I cannot remove myself from the lens I have as a racialized, mad, chronically ill, femme settler student from a working class family. No matter how I look at the work, it will not change how my family migrated from Hong Kong or from Canton before that, and from a village I can no longer pronounce before that. And no matter how many times the professors ask, I won't be able to like something that doesn't speak to me, something that wasn't really made for me. So all I'm asking for really in letter writing is I'm advocating for increased self-reflection and self-awareness, just like these scholars do in understanding audience participation, which is really, really good. I recommend this one. All right, so art as a social practice, how my letter writing does that. I'm not gonna go and argue that art is a social practice because there's this book, and then there's this book, and then there's this book, and this book, and this book, and this. I don't know if there's one more. Oh no, but I'm gonna point out this book, all right? Which Delafield talks about letter writing as repurposed as material for a life written by someone else. Epistolary exchange has an ongoing textuality verified through marks of exchange such as the greeting, the closure, the postscript. Published letters have a physicality even. And this physicality and relationality in letter writing parallels the creation of an artwork's creation and installation. On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous, written by Ocean Vuong, is a letter from a son to a mother who cannot read. It's a brutally honest exploration of race, class, and masculinity. And while it's not specifically about art appreciation, I think it is about how he talks to his mother, to us, to himself, to the author, to create and reiterate webs of care and relation and kinship. He says in this book, "You once told me that the human eye is God's loneliest creation. How so much of the world passes through the pupil and still it holds nothing. The eye alone in its socket doesn't even know there's another one, just like it, an inch away, just as hungry and as empty." So in our classrooms, I'm saying maybe it's not enough to see art. We have to see art together. We have to talk to each other about it. We are asking our students not just to see it, but to feel it, and to internalize it, and to think it, and to eat it, and to drink it, and to love it. And writing a letter might just help them get started digesting. Both my teaching and learning philosophies focus on the act of folding, bringing together different surfaces, lines, experiences, people, and stories. I like to sit in this fold at social intersections located by Black feminist scholars before me as an active observer. I like to watch new connections and shapes form. In this case, I'm using the fold of a letter. Because letter writing allows us to wear different hats and stand in different places depending on who I'm writing to and who I'm writing as. I'm reading this right now. And Amy Fung does a really great job asking us to reinvigorate what it means to criticize, analyze, investigate art. And I think while this is not a letter, she doesn't write it as a letter, it's similar to a letter in that it's a place of care and forgiveness for myself and for my community. Like Fung, I know I'm a settler, but I don't know the word for settler in Cantonese, and for this I feel shame. But it is in letters that I can admit how much I don't know. All right, so here's the workshop bit, because I hope I've convinced you that maybe this could be a little fun, and maybe it's worthwhile. So I don't know. I think some of us have devices, which is awesome, so we can use those devices. If you're in the physical space, the lovely people here have set up these tables with little books on them and pencils, and we can pick one up there. And so here's what I want you to do, if you'll humor me, all right? So we're gonna write a letter. You're gonna choose an artwork, any artwork. It can be one you made, it can be one your friend made. It can be one you saw yesterday, 3 years ago. I don't care. You're gonna choose a person to write to, but I'm gonna ask that it's preferably someone you feel you can be honest with, just to start out. And then you're gonna write to them and know that no one will ever read it if you don't want people to. And then you're gonna read your letter that you wrote, and then you're gonna sign it. And then you're gonna read your letter. And then you're gonna read your letter. And then you're gonna reread your letter. And then the last step is to notice something you did not notice before. All right, so I have what I said about my instructions. They're suggestions. They're suggestions. And I also have some prompts up in case you feel stuck about writing this letter. I don't know, I thought about sending a little Spotify playlist so we could have something going while we were writing. To be honest, it was 2 a.m. again, and I just didn't have that in me. So maybe I can walk around, maybe I'll try writing a bit too. But I don't know, maybe, I don't know what time it is and how much time we have, but we have 30-ish minutes. Oh, we can put music, that's so lovely. That's so awesome. All right, so let's write some stuff, guys. And I don't know, I can walk around or chat with you all about this idea if you'd like, and we can spend maybe like 20 minutes trying it out. And then I have like a little closing statement, not a statement, it's like a closing thing. And we'll do that. Sound good? Yes. Awesome. Thank you, Adam. Thank you.
it grows. There's something in this sound that takes me far. It's like a special song, can move my mood along. But I cannot say you'll hit through my guitar. She told me at the bass line, and everything will be alright. She told me that the groove is mine, it will take us through the night. And where I'll go, can't explain, I'll never know. But it's beautiful, you can't take this away from me. The way I hear the melody, the waves bring clarity, running through me. You can't take this away from me. Oh, the way I hear the melody, the waves bring clarity, running through me. I love the way it sings, all the joy that it brings. Remember skating down the road towards the park. I could never say no, you with that summer glow. The music gives me sun when winter starts. She told me at the baseline, everything will be alright. She told me that the beat is mine, it will rock us through the night. And where I go, can't explain, I'll never know. But it's beautiful, you can't take this away from me. Oh, the way I hear the melody, the waves bring clarity, running through me. You can't take this away from me. Oh, the way I hear the melody, the waves bring clarity, running through me. Hey, you can't take this away from me. The way I hear the melody, the waves bring clarity, running through me. Come on, y'all. You can't take this away from me. Oh, the way I hear the melody, the waves bring clarity, running through me.
Yeah, it's running through me. Yo, I wear notes like coats, blues like dudes, warmth in the rhythm, soul that glues, the bounce in my bones, jazz in my spine. The hop is my home, rap is my grind. I'm grinding on the backside of life, we dance. She threw me a chance, her hands in my pants. Actually, my pockets holding me tight, whispering a dream I could hold in the night. Look tight, a rhythm that's throbbing my vein. Wake up to write it on the pad, the pains. Like church, the organ will invite the tears. Like birth, the crying, let you know I'm here. Held by the song that gave me a name. Dressed by the verse that gave me a claim. It's just bass in the line, safe to inhale. And if you live well, belong your years in the stay you will be. A timeless octave to play for the tree. It's rooted in every single nerve in me. The nerve of he who ignores the key. The music that opens the mind to be free. Whenever you're hot-headed, pours you a breeze. Beneath the clouds you allowed to see. In clarity, through harmony. Someone harming me, that won't be done. I stand protected by the laws of fun. I am perfected through the rhymes of run. Walk it this way and leave the party stunned. This music, it launched me with no aim. I've landed on some plane. Where I am, I can't explain or never know, but it's beautiful. So
you can't take this away from me. Oh, the way I hear the melody, the waves bring clarity, running through me.
come on, y'all.
You can't take this away from me. Oh, the way I hear the melody, the waves bring clarity, running through me. Girl, you think you got it bad. Girl, you think you got it bad. Girl, you think you got it bad. Got our different ways with the same old radio. Had our own dreams with the same old alcohol. Had it by a string.
Hello, everyone. Just wanted to let you know you have around 10 more minutes, and then we will do our closing remarks for this workshop.
Worked it to the bone in the same old habit. Girl, you think you got it bad. Girl, you think you got it bad. Girl, you think you got it bad. Got our
There's a patch of sunlight in my room, on the carpet where I held you for a moment in June. There was something so sweet about it, never been so unguarded, and it made me fall for you.
There's a tree that looks up at the moon, in the garden where I held you for a moment in the blue. There was something so sweet about it, I'm holding on to this moment, 'cause it made me fall for you. Made me fall for you.
Take me back to the window, take me back to the door. You'll be right where I left you, sitting on the floor. I'm never gonna be alone. Take me back to the window, take me back to the door. You'll be right where I left you, sitting on the floor. Now I'm never gonna be alone.
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me? I'm trying to do Adam's soft voice that doesn't scare people, because I would have just gone boop boop, wake up. No. If you're writing still, please continue and do your thing. I'm just gonna slide over gently to the next little bit here. It's just our last little closing bit. So I made this like little Google form because I didn't know what the vibe would be like. I thought maybe some people would be still writing. So there's this little Google form QR code, but maybe that can also be copy and pasted into the chat in a second. And it's just, the first part is an invitation if you'd like to share your writing, you can. So you can take a little picture of what you've written, or if you've done it on a device, a little copy and paste into the form, if you'd like. Just curious, I'm the only one reading it. And then the second bit is just what you thought about the workshop, and maybe if there's anything you can think of that could make it better, I would love to hear that. And that's that. And if you're still writing, of course, I keep saying it, but please don't stop writing. If anyone has any questions or thoughts too, I'd love to hear, but yeah, that's all. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that was amazing. Thank you.
Thank you.
And yes, to reiterate, if there is any questions or thoughts, if anyone wanted to share any writing, the floor is open.
Wait, is it cheating if I share my writing? Because I think it's really funny.
Not at all, please.
Okay. I wrote, I'm shaking. I'm so scared. Public speaking is so scary. This is so scary. I wonder if there are works about the fear of public speaking. Is it 3 minutes and 12 seconds? I think I'm a bit jealous of John Cage in this instant. I wish I could sit here and be silent. But I guess I am like John Cage, because writing is silent, and silence doesn't mean nothing is happening.
Absolutely.
So that's what I wrote in my little guy. Anyone have thoughts?
Oh yeah, we've got a hand.
Yeah.
Should I come around with my microphone?
Hey, thanks for the workshop. I'm just thinking through the process. I found it challenging at first to just decide on what artwork, and then the decision of who would I write to. But I think the encouragement to kind of tap into that emotional side really helps. So I just thought about a work that has been really emotional to me, and then once I kind of made the connection about who it would be and realized it's like, okay, they don't even need to be alive anymore and that kind of thing, that it doesn't have to be set in this timeline. And then that actually really helped me kind of explore the connection of that history with this concept that was explored in that work. Very emotional though. I'm feeling a bit heavy after that reflection, not gonna lie. Yeah.
Fair.
So in terms of like workshop format, I kind of wonder, for someone like myself that enjoys thinking out loud and collaboration, I wonder in a place that maybe gave a little bit more time for a little pre-chat with people around
Ooh, yeah, I like
identifying
that.
those two things to just help the ball roll, and then having that time to write, and then maybe a kind of decompression after, yeah, in case it like got heavy for people like
Yeah.
myself. So there's some thoughts of like, if this workshop were to happen again, yeah,
Awesome.
could be cool.
Thank you so much. That's really helpful.
You're welcome.
Any other questions or comments in the space? Oh, I see one here.
Also, I think we need to write like, I have to add another thing to the list. Number 4 is that letter writing lets us time travel, which is pretty darn cool. Yeah. Sorry, Annie.
I just want to give some feedback, if that's okay.
Yeah.
I really loved the workshop, and I think I just want to commend you on the way you speak. It is so refreshing. It is because you do use these academic words, but I don't feel like I'm in some kind of theory level class, and I feel dumb because I don't know a word. And I'm not going to share exactly what I wrote, but I started writing about anatomy of a fall. And it ended up about psychoanalyzing my friends and I's relationships to our moms and suggesting that we make a film in which they become lesbian lovers. I was like, interesting.
I love that.
And
I
it
love
ended
that.
with, you don't have to respond now, but you can also do so when we're like old and beautiful prunes. And I was like, oh, I have a friend who I see myself like chilling in a garden in 60, well, maybe 70, 50, let's be realistic. But I really enjoyed it, and I think also I would have not come to this conclusion because I was not at all thinking about form, or like, will I say something smart about anatomy of a fall? And I found it was very liberating.
I love that.
Like that, thanks for the inspiration. Like your proposal about, I'm paraphrasing, an intersectional way to write about art. Probably being over conditioned by academia. I was like surprised, or the recall in reading over and over again was the embodiment through writing, so that I'm speaking about an art piece through relationship or desire for connection. And it, I think to that, your point, shifted the language that way, in a way that was also like accepting of myself. It's like, this is a valid place to speak from, which ultimately is my writing voice. So
That's amazing.
props in that regard.
I also think too, like, this can be for some people very difficult, or like I cry when I write my letters sometimes, and maybe sometimes it's a practice, it's something private, and maybe sometimes I write something that I want to share like this, right? And I think having that choice is so super, super important. So yeah, thank you for that. I will think about that too.
Yeah, thank you. I also so appreciated that, and it made me think about how I'm always telling students to write to someone, and you've literalized that experiment of like, that's how we find our voice, by writing to. And then students are always like, what does that mean? But an exercise like this, like, really literalizes that. When you're writing to somebody, your ideas change, the things you say change, the way you say it changes, and that's sort of how you unravel and find your voice. And I found that really inspiring. And it also gave me a chance to write to a friend, maybe also like Naveed. I started writing about like how we're going to be crones together. It's so funny that we were like on the same channel somehow. But it also gave me just like the chance to write to a friend I haven't talked to for a long time, and just gave me like the space to like discuss an artwork with her, which was a dance piece I saw this weekend by the Netherlands Dance Theater, where the dancers were dancing like little insect cats. Yeah, it was great. So thank you. And also, I just wanted to reiterate that I also so appreciated your voice and your presentation and your honesty and clarity.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, thank you everyone for all the lovely questions, and thank you so much, Yuki. Is there anything you wanted to say before we depart to the next panel?
No, thank you everyone so much for participating. It was so lovely to be able to share this. Thank you, Adam, for being so kind. And everyone, all the people that organized it. It's so incredible. Thanks, guys. Awesome. Great energy.
Wonderful. Thank you, Adam. Thank you, Yuki. Thank you as well to our panelists online. Thank you for all of your contributions and your questions to those of you here in the space. We're going to be taking a little 10-minute break, and then we're going to be back with our CARE panel at 3:35. For those of you online, we'll be closing up the live, but we will be back in the same Zoom channel in about 15 minutes. For those of you in the space, if you'd like to grab coffee or a snack, now is your last chance. So in the next upcoming break, you'll have a chance to grab a coffee. Thank you